Okay, ladies and gentlemen, come dive into the open minds where you can broaden your perspectives, expand your horizons, and open your eyes to a reality never thought possible. Just remember, once you open that door, there's no going back. I am your host, Robbie Diesel. This is the Open Mind Show. And tonight, I guess you could say he is a frequent guest now. He's a regular visitor. My boy Monty, welcome back to the show.
How you doing, Brody?
I'm good, man. I'm glad to have you back again.
Thank you, man. It's good to be back.
Absolutely. Tonight, we're basically just going to go over like current events. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of distractions, a lot of hype, a lot of look this way so we can do shit on this way. So we're basically just going to kind of dissect some things and give some of our own opinions on some stuff that's going on and maybe, open some eyes and ears and brains of some people who didn't see it in that light, or maybe you're focusing on the wrong things, or maybe you're not seeing it for distractions, or maybe we might learn a few things. Who knows? But yeah, so basically tonight's episode is about current events, and there's a lot of them right now. So, man, what do you want to kick it off with? What are we talking about?
Oh man, we could talk about this Trump case. There's so much to talk about. With the Trump case, I'm not looking too deep into it because so far from what I've read, it's all about like some misdemeanors. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't seen what felonies are on there. But
go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
So basically, from what I understood, this is basically stemming from alleged hush money that he supposedly paid Stormy Daniels when that whole thing went about for like, was it sexual assault allegations or something like that?
Something. I read something where they said hush money is not really illegal, but it's just the fact that he played with the numbers off his withdrawals and his account balances or whatever for his businesses. So basically he gave him 130 racks, gave Stormy Daniels 130 racks, but when he went back to his business, he wrote, 130,000 for a tax write-off or something. So he basically lied about where the money went, is what they're apparently going after him. But they say there's like 30 charges, which I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I don't know how they got 30 charges out of it. I'm definitely not a Trump supporter, definitely almost lightweight glad he got some charges brought about against him for something, but still at the same time, you got to be careful with what you do in situations like this. Like he's going to be possibly more famous now, or possibly looked at like more of a, what do you call it? Like a martyr,
a martyr.
To the Democratic sword.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so basically the timing is impeccable, and I know you would agree with me with this. This is a long time coming, and I actually made a comment about that on one of these social media platforms. I think it was like Say Cheese or Full Community or something, about how like the timing is like so impeccable right before elections, and I got hella flack. Like hella people were like agreed, but then there was hella people that are like, elections are 18 months away, or this has been going on a long time, and and that's exactly my point. Like making that comment is like, this shit has been going on so long, they could have picked any given Sunday to fucking indict this guy on these charges. But timing is everything, and this is why this current events episode, we kind of wanted to talk about distractions too, because not only is it nearing the time for presidents who are getting ready to run to start campaigning and make major pushes and make major headways and, make good impressions on the communities and stuff like that. So it's very time sensitive. But also the current events that are taking place around the world right now. So just huge distractions. That's all. It's just red flags for me. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, let's focus on him. Let's focus on this. The guy's not even president anymore. He hasn't been president for 3.5 years, dude. And they're still like aching at this guy.
3.5, 4 years to figure that stuff out.
Yeah. And they're like spoon feeding the hate into our fucking mouths, bro, like on everything that you see. And so to me, it's just like, it's a distraction. Sure. Did he pay some fucking porn star hush money? So the fuck what? Look at how many. If let's go down the Clintons track list. You know what I mean? How
Oh
many?
man,
How many
hush money's
times?
the
Yeah.
least of anyone's worries, dude.
I mean, shit. How many hush strings did they fucking pull around people's suicided necks? You know what I mean? So I mean, dude, whatever. You know what I mean? But yeah, to me, that's just all a distraction.
I think honestly, it's it. So every day, like I go to CNN and then I go to Fox News, and I go to two different because I just love seeing the different like what they headline and what CNN headlines and what Fox News headlines and see what. So like nobody's really talking about the whole brick situation or the the dollar being devalued or whatever, or people switching from their the dollar currency to their national currency.
Mhm.
And I think that's a little bit odd that no one's really talking about that. It's a pretty big deal. I don't think it's going to have the effect that those countries may think it's going to have. I think it'll have a significant effect for a little while, but I don't think it's going to last. But the fact that no one's really talking about that's a pretty big deal. Like, I mean, that's a huge deal. Like, and they got bonds and they got things that that are going to be devalued, and so like it's really a big deal, and no one's really talking about it. And yeah, I just think that's all. That could be also maybe a distraction to that event, because I haven't seen them really headline about that at all, like about any African countries doing it, China doing it, or anything. I haven't seen anything.
Well, and what's crazy about that is because I mean, I don't know where you found out about it as, but I found it out about it on platforms like Say Cheese, which is like a rap and hip hop platform. So to me and you, that's not mainstream media. Like that's not the CNNs, that's not the Foxes, that's not the MSNBCs.
No, people definitely were.
Platforms that should be like front page news. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's huge. New York Times.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, like the petrodollar, which is ultimately the US dollar, like pretty much runs the global economy, like in some shape or form. Not necessarily my physical dollar runs the world economy.
Everything is calculated in dollars.
Based off of petrodollar, right? And petrodollar is pretty much oil currency, and that's what our money is supposedly backed on now, because we don't have physical gold and silver that our money's backed on now. It's oil. So that's why they call it the petrodollar.
I mean, I always like to just say, like, do you really trust those countries? I would say no. I mean, Russia's absolutely killing people in Ukraine. China does not take care of their people very well. I love Chinese people and China in general. I wish to visit there one day, but it's like, dude, they have a lot of issues in the infrastructure there. So like you're threatening to not use a pretty, I would say, stable currency in exchange to use their own stable currency that's unstable, that won't be stable for long, because they absolutely do not care about laws, politics, whatever. They do what they want. I mean, it's just the way it is. Putin's going to be like trying to do things to be in power for the next like 20 years, or the communist parties in China are going to stay there for years. They're not switching over. So it's like, I don't know. It's a scary, the world is definitely in a really weird place right now. I think politically, financially, everything.
We're at a huge turning point. I feel
Yes.
like, you know how like okay, like right after 9/11, that that huge turning point that the world took when we were getting ready to go into Iraq, and weapons of mass destruction and stuff like that, and the sediment from the 9/11 actually was hitting everybody and kind of digesting it now, and we're getting ready to go to war, like kind of like that turning point. You know what I mean? But with multiple like facades, like you just said, like, dude, we got like this election is going to be crazy coming up if we even have one. We got new fungus viruses that are floating around that they're seems like they're getting ready to ramp up for fear mongering. You got the Ukraine and the Russian war going on right now, or conflict right now. Then you got this currency situation, and then not only that, but like look at that FTX or whatever that just got hit up for fucking all that illegal cryptocurrency,
Yep.
cryptocurrency and stuff like that. So you have that
And
and a bunch.
SVB Bank and then Silicon
Yeah,
Valley
dude,
Bank.
Silicon Valley Bank, dude, and all that. So, but okay, so back to the China thing and the drop in the petrodollar and stuff like that, and all these. It was Brazil and China that linked up originally, but then they joined with a bunch of other African countries and stuff like that too, and Russia. So,
India also.
right. So a few key points that came up to, well, a few key things that came up immediately in my head is, so remember like about, well, I guess you could say like the beginning of Trump's presidency, maybe a little bit before it, like China's economy was already going down. And if not a lot of people know, like China's pretty much owned us in like bonds and treasuries. Like they pretty much bought our debt, basically. So like they've kind of like owned us for a little bit. And so they're kind of like, we're at a, talk about turning points. Like we're at a turning point to where like China
They still do, yeah.
right. They might become like a dominant power in the world here coming up. You know what I mean? And that's kind of where we're sitting on right now. It's like a thin line of battling in the background for that. But their economy was on the decline. Like they were having a lot of economic downfall and shit like that over there for the past like 10 years. And everybody was saying, I remember like economic like experts and shit like that, they were talking about that. They're like, you know, you see what's going on in China right here, like that's just a reflection of what's getting ready to come over here. And like I agreed, I seen it, you know what I mean? Now we are seeing it full fold, whether you want to blame it on COVID,
It's
whether you want to blame it
everywhere.
on, yeah, exactly. So
I mean, if you go grocery shopping and you haven't noticed anything, like
exactly, inflation's crazy, fucking all that. So it brought that to my attention too. That was weird that they were going to it, like you said, like their currency's not really that good, their economy's not really that good. So it's iffy on how that's going to work out. But what also came to mind was, man, Gaddafi and African countries and the way he was running shit, and how he wanted to go to gold back and they took him out and stuff. And I'm not saying like this dude was a saint or anything. Like I honestly,
of course, yeah.
right. You know what I mean? Every dictator has their, you know, what I mean?
They're
their
like
bad side.
Saddam Hussein was horrible, but it was a lot of people that are actually from out there claim it's, you know, it was bad, but it wasn't like what it is now, you know.
Well, right. And that's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like he was giving pregnant families fucking money. He was you didn't have to work. You were getting paid if you were pregnant or if you were hurt. They had beautiful city streets. They had beautiful cities. Their economy was flourishing. They had their own schooling. They had their own precious metal backed currency, and they got taken out. And so now here we are again, but this is with like major players now. This isn't with just like Saddam Hussein or Gaddafi, you know what I mean? So like to me, it's really interesting to see. Not only do I believe that this is kind of like a push for us to be out of physical currency and into like digital currency for everybody, not just China and not just US, but I'm also interested to see how this is going to play out on like, you know, excuse my French, but it's kind of like a whose dick's bigger struggle, you know, between the US and China type shit. That's kind of what they're doing right now. You know what I mean?
That's exactly. I mean, it's just like, what do they call it? Like, you know, who's got the, you know, who loves their flag more, you know what I mean? It's like, so I'm very curious to see what's going to happen in the next year or two. It would lead to the world going to digital currency just because that I don't know. I don't understand how it can work out. I'm not an economist, but I don't understand how with so many Chinese and Russian businesses and businessmen in the United States, how they're going to be going back and forth with yuan and exchanging it. All America has to do is say, all right, well, good. You guys use your own currency. Every time you guys step into JFK and you guys need to exchange dollars, it's going to be 70% tax. You know what I mean? Like they're over here way too much. They're one of the biggest landowners here. If they decide to sell that land for 60 million, how are they going to exchange it back to, you know, they're going to have to, I don't understand how that's going to work. The actual physical shifting of money of the exchange of between even regular citizens. much less big corporations. So it's like, you're gonna be in China wanting to come to the United States, and you have 100,000 yuan, you just take a $30,000 hit, because the United States is going to have some import taxes, or something. It's going to have some sort of tariffs on money or taxes on the money that just or the products or whatever. So it just, I don't know. I don't think it's going to work, and I don't think it's going to last long. There's too much business being done between these two countries for them to just make a decision like that. It just doesn't work like that.
So do you think that China has kind of like infiltrated the US from the inside out?
Of course.
Like you just said, with like the land and the buying of politicians.
Of course, we can never, I mean, I don't want to say never. I'm sure you can purchase land in China. I highly doubt you or I could go there and just buy 5,000 acres or 20,000 acres like they're doing over here. So, and that's not a misconception. That's not like the Chinese are coming over.
It's not theory. It's not theory. It's not theory. This is like really happening.
They're actually purchasing a lot of land. They've had a lot of land, and they're doing it in multiple countries. I saw an article. I don't know if we talked about it, but they were saying that they had, like, police stations that were quote unquote like immigration centers for citizens to get like help.
Yes,
supposedly, but it was really just them, like, having their own little, security.
It was like spies, dude. They were like
literally spies, like watching their own citizens in the United States.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I don't know how long this situation is going to last with what's his name, President Z or Yi or whatever his name is, Z, just absolutely kind of just breaking off from the United States. I don't think it could happen. There's just too much business being done.
Yeah, so I think you hit the nail on the head as far as like, okay, so the only way it really works is if everybody goes to a digital currency. And
it'll drive, it's gonna drive, this is gonna be the precursor to going to a digital currency.
And it has to, because
it's gonna fail horribly.
regardless of what they play on TV, the who's dick's bigger game, the US and China, behind the scenes, the real powers that be all have the same agenda.
Yeah.
The US players and the Chinese players are all
want the same thing.
Right, a one world dictated government. So this is a facade. Again, this is a distraction. It's a facade to make us believe that we're at this, when in reality, behind closed doors, they're like, we got him.
Yep. And the digital currency would be the solution to some of the things I was saying. I don't understand how they're going to work. So if there's digital currency, then that would be very easy for someone to sell $60 million worth of land here.
Oh yeah.
They sell it, they get paid in the digital currency, they automatically
do all taxed the different right away. You don't have
to be a less tax. It's going to be a less tax because there's no rules on that yet. So it's going to be less than a physical currency. So yeah, I mean, I think it is a precursor for digital currency, which I'm all for digital currency. The thing is like unfortunately, if there's only that, it's only headed that way. It doesn't matter what you think of it. You think it's right, wrong. There's no point wasting your breath. It's gonna go there. It's gonna be that way 100% in 20 years. I mean, 100%. I think you'll see very little paper money in 20 years. You know what I mean? And and that'll be that. You know what I mean? And money probably won't even be accepted. I would say.
For the record, I'm completely against it, 100%.
Really?
I will waste my breath in for anybody else too.
There's no point.
I agree with you. There's no avoiding it. It's gonna happen. I 100% agree with you. Just like every single thing that we use is going to be integrated into smart technology. It already is going there. Like
half of your money is already digital.
Exactly. Shit,
probably
more than
90%, more than half, 90%, because you're sitting in a bank that you look at your online app and you move it around digitally, whereas before you'd have to go take a check go deposit it inside the bank, go to your ATM and do that. Now you can just do it all from a phone. So, I mean, it's already digital. I think when we're both talking about digital currency, I think we're talking about, can you go buy a sandwich with a $5 bill? You know what I mean? And I think that will be some years down the line where they literally gonna look at you and say, I can't get you the sandwich.
They
Like,
already do it. They are in the airports and shit. They're not accepting cash at most of the businesses.
Yeah, and then they put on the little sign right when you walk up to the counter. It says, please, due to the national change emergency, please do not pay in cash. You know what I mean? So I think it's some of this, I don't know, it's so, life is funny, man. Some of the scam of what people are against digital currency is the paper scam was a bigger scam than what the digital currency scam was. You'd go write a check and they wouldn't take your money out for 7 days.
Oh yeah, and then your shit would be overdrafted and
all
fucking
they're stealing money from people every day. So it's probably going to be more secure and better. I think we're going to have to definitely take into consideration hacking and cyber crimes at an all-time high right now. Like, people's information is just everywhere at all times, and people are getting hacked. So it's like, what is going to happen when every single person in the world can only pay with a digital phone, with a digital currency, and with a phone, you know? So it's definitely going to bring about a lot of issues. I think it'll gradually play itself out in 50 years, 75 years, 100 years. People won't know any better. They're just gonna, that's all they're gonna know is,
oh yeah, hey, our kids are gonna be like, fucking cash, what?
Yeah. Now, something I am against, and I think is inevitable, that's going to happen due to digital currency, is like the implanting of chips and things like that, or wrist watches that have all your information on it. You know,
I mean, forget all that. Like, forget all the hacking you said. Like, that shit already happens now. Like, motherfuckers get their fucking identity stolen every day and shit.
Yeah.
So that's like what goes without saying. The one reason that I'm against it, and it's where we're heading as a society, period, and it has to do with the one world government, is the control, period. The control. Same thing with the smart cars, like the whole, you know, remember back in the like 90s, the show Smart House or whatever, where it had like the little robot that was integrated throughout the whole house. Like, we're coming to that, and that's so scary because they're already trying it. And there was in China, there was a Black Mirror episode about it where it's literally your social credit score. So if you don't appease to what's acceptable socially, which may not be morally right, which may not be morally acceptable, you know what I mean, to your beliefs, to my beliefs, whatever, they literally have the power to shut you down.
I'm not joking. I literally most recently just literally thought about that whole issue. And I thought, damn, that might be a good thing. Like, there's people out here that are dog shit. There's so many dirt bags out here. And people may look at me like that. I may look at them like that. But my point is I don't go into a parking lot and try to start a fight over a parking spot. You know what I mean? But there's people that'll kill you over a parking spot. You know what I mean? I think if someone is ready to kill you over a parking spot, but hasn't physically killed you, I think they should have a fucking social credit score. And I think people should know that person's a dirtbag, because that person's going to go in there and find out later, like, oh yeah, I just hired this guy. He sounded great in the first 2 weeks, but he's a dirtbag. He just stole everything out of my company and doing this and that. That's just one example, but people that cut people off, people that fucking anything, you know what I mean? There's so many different things. People that litter. I hate fucking people that litter, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, people that litter are, you know, that could be a part of the social credit score. I'm not necessarily against it. I don't think we should go and like not, you know, get someone a job because of it possibly, but I think it could be something that is used. But in general, credit score, social score, all that stuff is all bullshit. So it's all bullshit. They wouldn't, if it was true and accurate, then I would agree for it. Let's put it that way. In how we do things, I don't agree with it because it's not accurate. Just like your credit score, you spend $38 on your credit and it drops like seven points because you spent $70.
Exactly.
It's like, come on, dude. Like, what? That doesn't change your credit. That doesn't make you that doesn't make you not pay back your debts, you know?
So that's my thing with the way everything is set up right now. The system is designed the way it's designed intelligently to, you know, to keep people in check and to keep people down. You know what I mean? If you know how to beat the system, you're good at it, whatever. That's neither here nor there. But the system is designed for a reason, to keep society in check, regardless of what you think about it. It really is. You know, the rich get richer, the poor stay poor, period. It's statistically proven poor people spend money ridiculously. Rich people are smart with money. Anyways,
Yep.
It would come to that because, okay, the extremism of it, which happens all the time in everyday life today, is, let's say you were a man of statute, you know, you were somebody who was somebody. And this is an extreme example, but you're not the biggest Donald Trump fan. And we got in an argument about that. You disagree. It wasn't even a bad argument. It was just a disagreement. But because it's socially acceptable to hate on Donald Trump and I didn't agree with that, now, and you know, let's say we posted it on Facebook or we did a Facebook Live video or Instagram Live or whatever. Now my account's frozen, shut down. My bank account's frozen, shut down. I can't use my phone for 30 days. I can't pay any bills. I may miss my job now. All kinds of shit can come bad from having that much control. And it's the same thing with like smart cars and stuff. Like, you're literally going to say something that's not socially acceptable. Can't drive your car for 15 days, Mr. Cox. Your driving privileges have been shut down. They were already they're testing this out in a county in England right now. The whole the carbon lockdown where you literally have to like write your parliament or whatever and give a good reason on why you need to drive your car to
can't
expel,
drive to Birmingham.
Yeah, to expel
Unless it's
carbon
like
emissions and shit.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's scary, bro, to me. And that's the one reason why I disagree with a completely centralized digital currency. That's the only reason. Because
yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be decentralized, but
once you open that door, once you open that door to just one thing, they're going to apply it to every single aspect, period. It's going to be too easy not to.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it's going that way. What you need to do is be prepared for that. How you prepare for that and how you get a solution for that is, if you're doing something illegal, I suggest you fucking figure out a way to stop doing it soon. Yeah, like in the next 5 years, like, because you can't take no PAC money and do this and do that and deposit it, and they're already locking that shit down. Where you bring $5,000 cash and they want to know where you got that $5,000 cash.
Chase Bank, dude.
It's still, yeah. Oh my God, yeah. So it's going that way, and it's, you know, Jock always said, what do you care that your privacy is getting stolen? Do you think someone gives a shit what porn you're watching?
Absolutely not.
No one gives a shit. Do they care that some guy freaking likes, you know, taking his wife out on dates and having other guys go out with her or some shit? No one cares about that stuff. So that guy that's complaining about privacy is, I'm very much for privacy, you know what I mean? But my point is it's going to get to a point, and it's already reached there, that they already have that information.
Mm-hmm.
They know what porn you watch. They know what
stuff
videos
to me
on YouTube you watch.
That's so minuscule in comparison to, you know, it's like, okay, let's break it down.
What would be a bad invasion of your privacy?
So let's break down a scenario. Let's say you're a successful CEO of a Fortune 500 company. You have another guy who feels like he should have had your spot. He tries to set you up with a female for sexual harassment or something. You did absolutely nothing. Now you have to go on the run until you can get lawyers, scramble to fight for your freedom, for whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? And this is just like super vague. It's not anything like crazy serious, but I'm sure you're smart enough to dissect it and figure out what I'm putting down.
Yeah.
So anyways, you're in that situation. You can't go anywhere because you have a smart car. You can't go anywhere because you have a smartphone. but you can't ditch these things because you need to go. But while you're on the go, you need to stay in contact with the people that you're going to be able to help.
We're
And you also
already
have
there.
to pay them. Hey, but that's my point. That's my point. But it's going to be that much worse. Like me and you could still go on the run right now with cash and still be cool for a little bit.
Kind of.
For a little bit. For a little bit.
I don't know when's the last time you did it, but I was just on the run for 2.5 years. No, I'm just joking. No, it literally, you can't. You got to check in with a credit card for a hotel. You could try to pay hella extra money, like go talk to the guy and be like, hey,
that's what I'm saying.
I'll give you $400 right now just to let me stay here.
Mhm.
But it's already pretty, dude, your life is being recorded over 80% of the time. One thing I would say about the privacy thing that I don't like, it would be extortion.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously. And so it's like, it doesn't matter. Maybe that person just doesn't want their business out there. They have that right. And that's the thing I think that you're really trying to get at, is it's really a right.
Exactly. It's not that I want to know what porn my neighbor's watching, but it's also that I don't need his information blasted on the side of his house, whether he likes fucking Cheerios in the morning or fucking Fruit Loops. You know what I mean? Like,
oh my God, he's fucking the Fruit Loops and Cheerios.
But that's what I'm saying is but that's where we're headed, is like, that should be like public information. And that's just, to me, that's just too much, bro. You know what I mean?
It is. It's just like,
and it is, like you said, we're already there. Look at Facebook. What the CIA came out and said it when Facebook first came out. That dude came out. He's like, I can't believe so many Americans were so willing to go on a public app and tell people when they were gone from their house, what they had in their house, take photos of it, photos of addresses.
See, that stuff is, see, to me, when it gets to a point of danger of your well-being, then that's when the privacy thing could be an issue. And that's obviously something people think about, is am I safe with all my information out there like that? And would I want someone just to go through my phone or read my text message between my close friends, and maybe I might say something that wouldn't be politically correct? It could be played out totally different on, on a platform. It would, like, oh my God, look what this person wrote. But I don't agree with any sort of like using it to extort people or get an upper hand on a person. You know what I mean? When I say I don't care about the privacy thing, I'm just saying, if you're a serial killer, you're definitely worried about privacy. If you're doing something crazy, you're definitely worried about privacy. Those are guaranteed.
Yeah.
And for anyone that's lived that type of lifestyle knows that, yeah, that's one of your main concerns, is like, hey, I don't want people to know how I do this or how I do that. And it's like, yeah, that's true. But in the future, just like it is now, people used to get away with shit in the 80s. Everything's recorded now. Like, people are getting caught left and right for anything you do because someone recorded it. You know what I mean? So it's just inevitable. And for things that are inevitable, all you could do is try to hold your ground on something that you find valuable in that argument, which for me, I would say in 20 years, when privacy becomes more and more of an issue, I'd say, hey, do whatever you guys want, but you can't extort people and sell their information. And that's some of the stuff that's been happening now that we've been seeing in court cases and
data collection,
things like
bro.
that. Yeah, data collection.
Multi-billion-dollar industry, dude. Like Verizon, you cancel your account, dude. Your information is sold immediately to the collection companies and shit.
Which that's fine, but as long as that collection agency isn't giving it to a scamming hub in somewhere, you know what I mean? That's the problem. Is those two avenues towards the end are in cahoots.
It's capitalism.
Your information goes, yeah.
People are seeing opportunity, and again, you know what I mean? I'm not specifically talking about you, but just to say, Monty, like, that's a lot of responsibility to take on. If you were the one guy to be picked to take care of everybody's digital information, you have to be responsible with not wanting to backdoor this information. Companies offering you a $5 billion check to send us all this information once a year. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, people are gonna bend, fold, and crack to those numbers, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why it just will never work.
At the end of the day, data collection is important, but once again, not if it's going to be used for negative things.
And
You know
you
what I
can't
mean?
trust every single soul to make the right choice
You
when
would
it comes to that
you do
responsibility.
music. Yeah, you do music. You would love to see every number you could on your music.
Mhm.
It tells you how to do everything. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Where what markets to focus on, what, you know, like geographic information science, basically. You know what I'm saying? Just basically knowing what data looks like what on a map, so that you can figure out, hey, I need to reach this market. I need to lower my prices in this market. I'm not having many sales. I'm not doing the, there's a million things you can get. So you can't be mad at companies for doing that, but you can be mad if they're just selling the information to companies or scam centers or whatever. Someone's getting, I don't know.
Someone's getting fucked.
They're I cannot believe how much and how smart these scam situations are getting. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they can send you a PayPal email. You know what I mean? You'd have to be like, you literally have to dissect the email to see that it wasn't from PayPal, you know?
And that's why a lot of those companies will send out things saying, we will not directly email you. Don't respond to them and shit like that. And they've had to resort to that because of that exact reason. So that's basically as far as, where that goes, is like, you can't fully entrust one person or a group of people to all be on the up and up forever, especially when you have companies and people who do have evil intentions and bad intentions that have big fucking bankrolls, dude, that don't end, and they're willing to pay a shit ton of money to get this information and to get access for this information for whatever bad things that they want to do. You know what I mean? So that's the unfortunate problem, dude. And it's just human behavior is just error, period. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it really is. Whether you did it, with not bad intentions, but then it ended up getting too deep, or whether you are just the evil piece of shit
Exactly.
motherfucker, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But all it takes is that one mistake, and then you're fucked,
Yeah.
and everybody else is fucked. You know what I mean? So yeah. So it's a slippery slope. We are headed there. But then it just brings up shit like the insurrection. It's like, okay, we have all this cameras and all this great security, and people can't get away with shit, but these motherfuckers just march right through armed guards and into places.
Yeah,
like
that was,
you know what I mean? Like, it's just shit like that
I mean, we all saw the famous footage, dude.
Right. They let him in. Whatever.
The cop was going, go, 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 go.
They let him in. But that's my whole point, is that, like, there's just so many little ins and outs that it's not just as simple as, oh, hey, they're already doing it, and it's it's gonna be great for this. But yeah, but there's also this, and this, I mean, on why it's bad. Pros and cons with everything. So that's why, me personally, my opinion, I'm 100% against it. I know me saying that's not going to change anything. I know me saying that's not going to stop it. That's definitely not me saying like I'm not going to prepare for it, because I know it's coming. So I'm the guy who likes to be prepared for it, regardless of if I like it or not. You know what I mean?
I mean, I think it's a good thing, just because of the transaction speeds and money actually being more interest rate on monies, and your money being more valued due to getting that better interest rate.
I agree.
You're getting 300-400. You're getting, like, I don't even know, like 1,000% more better interest. You know what I mean? I think it's like 0.01 or 0.10 for a 0.01 for banks. So it's like you're getting 3% from Coinbase. That's huge. You know what I mean? And but the one thing is, though, is if it does switch to that, then if I ever need a sandwich, dude, I might need to borrow your digital currency card, because I don't know.
Exactly.
I can't go back on my word now that I said that I'm for it. They're gonna be like, hey, I'm like, hey man, they cut off all my accounts, dude. I can't even buy a freaking McDonald's #1.
They pulled that motherfucking tweet I posted in 2006, bro, and now I'm fucked. Now my social credit score is 0.
They're way smarter than that too. You know what I mean? They're gonna be like, hey, Diesel sent you a fucking $40. Like, how did he get that money?
Yeah.
Like, how did he even send? Why did he send you $40? Like, who is he to you? that you had zero and you're at the McDonald's drive-through and you just sent you $40. Like they're gonna know everything.
Well,
But
then look at all
already
this. Look at
people
all
are
this
already
AI.
doing that.
Look at all this AI shit right now. Like you're not even gonna
Oh,
have.
that
You're not even gonna have to do anything, and they can create a fucking video of you saying some shit that you didn't say, and then just be like, "Fuck you, Monty, you're fucked."
Yep, that's
You know
it.
what I mean?
That's probably a huge. That's a huge. Oh man, that's such a big topic. The AI stuff is so big. Um, a lot of people I don't think about the fact that AI is one thing and quantum computing is a different thing.
Break down quantum
AI,
computing really quick, like simplify.
I mean, as simplified as I could, like I'm definitely not an expert in it, but basically the way I understand it is going to be there's going to be a million answers. It's going to be like ChatGPT of everything except the speed is in quantum bits. So the speed is like a speed that you can't fathom. If a regular computer, for example, could do 1,000 calculations, and I don't know, these aren't accurate numbers, but for example, they could do 1,000 calculations. Quantum computing with qubits can do 1 million. You know what I mean? In a second.
Wow.
Whereas, yeah. Wow. So basically, it's going to get to the point where you could type in, cure for cancer, and the quantum computing is going to do its own thing and figure everything out on its own, rather than being programmed to do it. Yeah, if that makes sense.
So it's gonna be like a sentient being almost.
Yeah. Which basically is from quantum, two particles being in two different places at one time, but being the same particle. So it's scary where that's headed, and then in conjunction with AI, that's going to be insane. It's going to be insane when those two when they put AI in qubits. Let's say right now AI is a, what do they call it, RAM or whatever, or
gigabytes or what the fuck,
gigabytes,
terabytes,
terabytes or whatever. So bytes. So it's gonna, when it gets to qubits, it's gonna be, or qubits, it's gonna be absolutely insane. It's gonna be insane. The example that I thought about, that I was told about quantum computing that made sense to me was, if you want to go from A to B, let's say across a mountain, well, like a GPS will give you the path that you take to get to point B from A. With quantum computing, it'll take everything into account, and it'll account for everything. It'll say,
it'll look at all the ins and outs, all the faults, I get it.
Thing you could
every
possibly
dead
imagine.
end, every possibility.
You get to 6,000 elevation and your hike's at 730. It's going to start being slightly raining, and since it's going to be slightly raining, your foot might possibly slip at this crazy little turn. It's going to be so in depth and complex that people have no idea. It's already there, but they're just getting the qubits up. I think they're at 10,000 qubits right now, which is insane, because it would be the same thing as being just like 10,000 megabytes, you know what I mean? Which is, imagine where we're at now from 10,000 megabytes or whatever, or 1,000 megabytes.
It's like fucking caveman shit compared.
Yeah, exactly. So with that, with the videos, and I was just going to say that the other day, I was like, I don't even know if I can believe anything anymore with the AI. It's like so believable.
Not a fucking thing.
How could you tell the difference? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Dude, the saying just keeps ringing in my head lately, is the believe none of what you hear and only half of what you see. And it's like, now I can't even believe any of what I see either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's crazy. Speaking of insurrections, did you see that those trans people stormed that Capitol building in Kentucky?
No, I didn't see that. What happened?
Yeah. So basically, after that shooting or whatever, a bunch of them said that trans kids were in danger and under attack, and that Republicans in Kentucky weren't doing enough of it. And they literally like violently stormed the building and were attacking like congressmen and women in Kentucky and shit like that.
Wow. I didn't see that.
People were applauding them. They were like, oh yeah, you every right, stand up for your right, and da 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 da. And it's just like the hypocrisy, dude. Again, other distractions. It's like the same thing we were talking about with that indictment on Donald Trump. It's like this is sad to say, but we literally have a mass shooting season in the United States because it always seems to come around right when some big political event's coming up. Like it's like fucking clockwork. Now,
Well,
not
I mean,
only
shit, it's happening more than, I mean, it just happens every other fucking day.
right, but what
I
I'm
saw
saying
that
is they
statistic.
don't publicize it as much until political happenings. You know what I mean? Like you don't see them every day on headlines and stuff like that.
I think those type things, as far as distractions go, are so complex that it's so hard to to say like the Donald Trump indictment thing's a distraction. You could totally say that, obviously, but it's like distraction for what? Only God knows. You know what I mean? Like it's who knows what the distraction could be for. So I don't really look at it as a distraction. Therefore, because of that, you know what I mean? Because if I don't know what it's distracting from, obviously, yes, politically, yeah, elections are coming up, and whoever said 18 months or whatever is an idiot, because that's perfect timing to do this type of stuff. Like you don't want to do it the day of, you know what I mean?
You want to build up the momentum. What about all the train derailments?
Oh my God.
Enlighten me on that. What's your
Oh
perspective
my
on
God.
that? Like why just all of a
Speaking-
sudden, and you know what I mean? To me, it seems like we're being attacked from the inside out.
I haven't seen what they claimed happened, or what the reports were, but just based off what I just seen recently, I mean, this is getting out of control. Like I just saw another one, the ethanol one you saw that happened the
That
other
was
day.
in Minnesota, right?
Yeah, and so
We just had one in North Dakota here too.
yeah, I mean, as like an environmentalist, that's is very sad and
Devastating, man.
devastating and very sad, and can be easily you know, reduced if at all. You know, I mean, they shouldn't even have one derailment like that. That geographic information science that I was telling you about, like they're using that to use data on dangerous goods and toxic waste. So why are we not utilizing these systems to watch trains that are carrying toxic waste? I have no idea. You know what I mean? And that's, you know, people always say like, oh, people are conspiracy theorists and that. It's like, why does someone have a simple answer then for it? You know what I mean? I'm not even a geographic information science major, but I could tell you, I could put a whole plan together for you. I mean, I've studied it. So, but I mean, I could put a whole plan together that wouldn't have allowed those accidents to happen. How are they allowing this to happen at a national level?
Not only that, but they're literally all trains carrying hazardous material cargo. It's not like, you know, the one in Ohio was a one-off, but then the next one was like filled with corn or grains, or the next one was filled with this.
Yeah.
They've all happened within the last 4 months. Like there's no.
I think, I mean, looking back, I think a lot of this stuff has been happening for years. I think just with internet and information getting more prevalent for people to access these things, you're starting to hear about this stuff. But I mean, 30 years ago, you think you would have heard about Minnesota in California 40 years ago? Like it would have been one paper, it would have been one article. If you didn't read the paper that day or go to CNN, on one CNN, Fox News wasn't even around. It's like 1996 was Fox News' first thing. So it's like everyone watched CNN at that time, 1996 to and before. What would, or CBS or whatever, but it's like, why?
All right, ready.
Why 5 and 3 months or whatever? I mean, I think it was 4 and 3 months that happened. Like that's a lot. And so how do they not have sensors on dangerous goods showing the location and time? And if it's 35 miles per hour, dangerous goods have to go at 22 miles an hour. If it's 22 miles an hour, then dangerous goods should go at 10 miles an hour.
Well, and here's my open-minded side, because, you know, I like to honestly look at it from both sides and keep an open mind. How long has infrastructure experts been screaming that our railroads are 100 years behind. Look at the railroad infrastructure in like China and shit like that with their speed rails and shit like that. Like,
Yeah, we're
yeah, America's power grid and railroad infrastructure is like it's the same technology that we were using in the
exact one, yeah.
1950s and 60s. It's crazy. The engines just got better, the transformers just got better. But other than that, the
The
layout
same one that we created for the world. Really.
exactly. Yeah, it's the same layout. So it's like, what do you know, okay, maybe off chance, but then my conspiracy side comes in and my nitty-gritty rabbit hole side comes in. And it's like, just like you said, like, why was it 5 hazardous material trains across the United States, just hazardous material trains within a short span of time? And then
we got to touch back on this once they get the reports back, but not that the reports really mean much, but it's harder it is hard to mess with all those reports. You know what I mean? It's hard to omit stuff. Somebody will come out eventually and say,
oh
hey,
yeah, somebody's gonna
like
fuck
I
up somewhere.
reported. Yeah. What about the 5 people that I'm not laughing. It's just shocking. I can't believe it. The 5 top-notch scientists, environmentalists that died going to the first one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude. And then right before that, when we were having the supply chain shortages, all those food processing factories that went up, and 3 out of the 7 that went up miraculously got crashed into by small biplanes. Like, that's just weird to me, bro.
I mean, it's just I think, I don't know. I don't want to say people don't want, when people say, I don't want to hear the conspiracy side, or I don't want to hear about it, blah, blah, blah. Oh, give me a break, that type of stuff. They're really, first of all, being very lazy thinkers, because it is important. And just because it was in Minnesota doesn't mean it's not important in California. Right. Something a lot of people don't realize is a lot of hazardous waste and nuclear waste get transported on our highways. And why do we not have accidents like that? Why, when was the last nuclear waste accident you heard about on the highway?
Never.
Now you hear about ethanol or whatever, but that's just one truck with, whatever, 1,000 gallons or whatever that they have in it. But these dangerous goods need a new route. And if they are traveling in highly populated, dense areas, we do need to figure out new routes and things to get these trains not carrying these materials in high populated areas, or at busy times, or through the city, or whatever it is, or close to even anywhere. I mean, then at that point, it doesn't matter, because now let's say you're not in the city. Now you're near a watershed, or now you're near a creek or a river, and it happens. So it's equally as dangerous. So these materials with geographic information science need to be monitored and satellite watched very closely when they're being transported. They need to have more regulations on how fast they're traveling, and who is driving those trains. We don't even know. We didn't even hear about anything about the conductors that were driving.
No.
We haven't heard one thing. Not that they were shocked, that they were sad, sorry, nothing. We didn't hear anything. They didn't say anything. The guy was under the influence, nothing. We didn't hear anything about the conductor that was driving these trains. So I think at the end of the day, it's just same situation Jock always used to talk about, is we have the answers, we just don't put them into use. There's so much computer technology that train could have had sensors on the brakes that the second it started to see a derailment could have slowed down before it even happened, when it felt the vibrations of the fucking track 300 feet in front of it getting ready to go.
All these reasons that you bring up, and these are good, valid points, lead me to believe, in my speculation and my experience, that this is literally an attack from within, whether it's from an outside entity or it's our own.
Yeah, either doesn't,
deep
it's some
state
sort
people.
of, yeah.
But it's too coincidental. And the the saying, dude. It's not,
Yeah.
it's never, there's no coincidences, bro. And for just like you said, dude, look at Captain Sully when he landed that plane in the fucking Hudson River or whatever. You know, he was the main, he was the martyr of that story. He was the main spectacle, obviously, because he saved all those people and landed it safely into the Hudson River. But you would think, just like you said, that those main attraction of that story would be who the fuck was driving those trains? What was their experience? What was their training? Why wasn't none of this taken into consideration? You know,
what happened?
was there a
fucking
backlog?
seconds before
Yeah. Was there a backlog of, you know,
maintenance issues?
malfunctioning or maintenance issues on the tracks, on the cars, on, you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. All this stuff. And none of that is coming to light. Like none of that is being pushed. Even same thing with like these fires and the 3 planes that crashed into 3 different food product. Like nobody said, you know, why were these planes here? Why did they go down? Nobody was even questioning that. Like what happened to these 3 planes, you know? They were all different occasions too. You know, it's not a 5th grader can put that shit together, you know. Maybe we should look at all 3 of these as one happening, you know what I mean? But they didn't do none of that. It's like that's fucking crazy, dude.
That's, I mean, I'm sure, of course, they're gonna have it and it's gonna come out, but I just don't. I wish I knew more about train derailment and how it happened. I do know high speed on turns can happen. So that's one thing I do know. Was that person traveling higher than the speed that they should have been? Then I don't know, you know, these companies that have these contracts are huge companies. They're not, you can't, this isn't a company that just took the new contract last year. You know what I mean? They're huge companies. So I'm assuming it's just, you know, just sweep it under the rug type shit. And is that gonna be detrimental forever? No, like it'll recover in that area. God knows what it's like. It has to be assessed very, very detailed, you know, assessment of what happened and what's going to be affected and what's going to be affected in the future. Are the fish's reproductive organs going to not work in 20 years due to this spill? Like, so it's insane the damage that can be caused, and I just don't understand why they don't take better care of something that's carrying hazardous materials or nuclear waste. If it was nuclear waste, dude, those people would be dead.
Oh, yeah. I mean? Oh, yeah. I mean,
literally.
shit, some of them, depending on how they were affected by it, might have wished they were dead right now. Honestly, because
you saw the people in Pennsylvania buying the water, or Philadelphia, was it? Or
it was
buying
Ohio.
Water.
I thought
Ohio. Well, yeah, there's a few places I think. Well, no, the train derailment was in Ohio, but this is another. There's a spill into a creek, but it wasn't a train derailment, and people had to buy water. You know what I mean? Because their water was now messed up. So it's like contaminated. So it's like I don't know. I always ask that in some of my classes. You know, I've said, like, how come we have answers to a lot of these issues, but they're not used? You know what I mean? And people just don't have an answer for that. They just say, oh, it's political, or it's this or that. And you know what it is. I know what it is. It's like shareholders. That's it.
Well,
Please the shareholders.
You're absolutely right. And it's just like you just said, like they have this information, but it won't be released till 10 years from now when it's been redacted, watered down, you know, it's going to be, once it's released, it's the way that they want it to be released.
Yes.
With their agenda. I
literally just saw a thing. I say, man, people want to talk shit about Biden. He just signed into law like 5 more million acres or something, whatever. For example, I forget about the numbers, but he signed a huge deal of acres that are no longer can be used for oil. You know what I mean? In Alaska, I think it was. And I was like, this is amazing. And then I saw the next day after that, he passed the what was it? What was the pipeline that everyone was talking about?
The one in Alaska?
The recent one that.
Yeah, I forget what it was, but it was in Alaska and people were like, fuck
like
you.
Went viral. Yeah,
because it was like it was like protected land or something up there.
Yeah, it was going through it was going through indigenous people's lands, and a lot of the problems a lot of people don't realize with this when it's going through indigenous lands is just because it's not going through indigenous lands doesn't mean that if a break happens, it's not going to ruin the indigenous lands 30 fucking square miles away or
Right.
all their river that they depend on. You know what I mean? And so it's a joke. But yeah, basically, I thought, wow, Biden did such a great thing. Then he passed the other law where he let that pipeline go through. I said, at that point, I just go, you know what? This
It's
is
like,
a joke.
yeah,
This is a joke, dude. Like, this is right in front of your face. He passed one bill saying no more oil, and then passed another bill allowing a horrible pipeline to go through.
mhm. Yeah, it's the puppet show, man. It's the puppet show. And he, you know what I mean? It's not just him that's guilty of it, dude. Most politicians are.
Everybody, yeah.
They do
Everybody.
that. They do
Yeah.
that shit, dude. They play the game. They play the game. And yeah, dude, I don't know. It's just distractions, current events. So what from your best level-headed standpoint, where do you see us headed with what's coming up? Just in general.
I think we're going to be into an era of like a new Cold War era of like high talks of nuclear destruction between countries. It's already started a little bit if you want to see some of the stuff. But I think it's going to be a new Cold War era between multiple countries. Back again with Russia, but also now China and different countries are going to be involved. And yeah, North Korea is already making noise and trying to do their little stupid thing that they're doing. It's not headed somewhere good, but it's not headed to where I think it's going to be like, oh my God, it's the total destruction of the earth and this and that. None of that is going to be beneficial for any government, and they know that. They know if a nuclear bomb goes off, all their money halts. So it just won't happen. So they're going to scare people and, fearmonger people and just get people to switch over currencies and sell their dollar and do this, do that, sell their gold, buy gold, whatever. And it's going to be a weird political climate. Then I think within about 5 years to 10 years, I think it's going to be a huge peace treaty between everyone. And then that's about it. And then
you think a fake alien invasion is impossible soon? No, a lot of people are skeptical about that too.
I don't think it would be fake. I do know, like, obviously and this isn't freaking classified information. Everybody knows all governments of the world have been working on, spacecraft that would seemingly look to the average person as it would be alien technology. I do think that definitely alien technology has been used somehow in broken down crafts and whatnot, but I think it'll be I don't think it's going to be an invasion. I think it's just going to be a kind of a declaration that, hey, we have new species that we know about, and probably try to downplay it as much as possible. All I do know is if that does happen, I don't know how they're gonna calm people down, or there's gonna be, oh my God, dude, there's gonna be people in Alabama shooting at everything moving.
It's gonna flip a lot of people's fucking lives upside down. He's shooting at anything moving. That's hilarious.
I'm not. If they declare it, I'm literally gonna just move about my business the same exact way. Now, obviously, if you start seeing freaking people getting zapped in the street, which I don't think it's going to be like that, then yeah, I think it'd be time to start freaking out. But I think the culmination of everything that's going on is going to result in very close nuclear war, to the brink of nuclear war, Then probably around the same time the brink of nuclear war would be some sort of alien, occurrence, which, like I said, I don't think it'll be an invasion or like we're gonna see just flying saucers everywhere and all that type of stuff. I think it'll be like one incident where they declare it type thing. And then obviously later down the road, then it'll expand from that. But I think for the first time when they first declare it, it'll just be like some sort of just like, hey, something landed and we don't know what it is, and we found this thing on it. And,
we're going to check it out.
yeah. But I mean, if you don't think aliens exist, I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean? There's billions and billions of stars. All those could potentially be having one habitable planet that humans or a species can live on, with air, oxygen, water, and we don't know anything about anything. They might not even need oxygen, might not even need water. So of course there's other species on other planets light years away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether they had come here, I don't know. I don't think Jock always said that, they wouldn't come here. There's no intellectual life.
Right. That's what what's his name said too. Not Jock Ballet, not the Jock that you're talking about, Jock Ballet. He said, have you
Jock
ever
Fresco.
Yeah, you're talking about Jock Fresco. I'm talking about Jock Ballet. He
Okay.
his famous saying was, have you ever caught yourself trying to explain to a cockroach that you're more inferior than it? He's like, no, you haven't. So why do you think aliens would do that?
No, but you have sprayed them.
Right. So basically
I'm
in agreement with you. I think whatever happens, it's gonna usher in some happening is going to happen within the next 5 to 10 years. I think it's going to be sooner, but I'm going to give it 5 to 10 years, whether it's a world war, whether it's nuclear threat, whether it's an alien invasion, that's going to usher in everybody to have to come together as one world government. Yep. One peace treaty world government somehow. They're going to.
This isn't our, this is off stuff you could read.
Yeah. This is they're going to decentralize everything and make it digital currency. They're going to get rid of paper money. Borders are going to cease to exist. Like I'm pretty sure Mexico and Canada within the next 10 to 15 years are probably going to be one. And we're going to be well on our way into water wars. I think that's coming quicker than a lot of people think too. Water wars. They're giving us one last winter where we're getting pounded. I think this summer and continuing on, bro, is going to be drought heaven, dude.
Yeah, and these are man-made droughts, so
100%.
Of course, I'm not saying climate change isn't real, and I'm not saying that it doesn't have an effect on water reservoirs and stuff like that. But when you simply read and can look and read articles, and you see that there's like China's or Saudi Arabia's growing alfalfa for their cows. And they're literally taken all the water out of a town that's whole basis is farming. And what did they do? They go 800 feet for their well, and the Saudi Arabian company raising the alfalfa to send back to Saudi Arabia for their milk cows is going down 1,600 feet. Yeah. So before the guy even gets his water, they've already taken the water. Yep. And so it's so disheartening when you see the drought talk. It bothers me every time, because people don't realize the crops that are in California. They don't realize the water resistant crops, the water just water heavy crops and crops that don't need a lot of water. We have all kinds of different crops in California, but the problem is if you are just allowing new water permits left and right every year, how are we ever supposed to get past the drought? Yeah. If I just go start a new walnut company tomorrow and just buy 50,000 acres and just get the water for that 50,000 acres, I shouldn't be allowed to start a walnut company. Yeah. I'm going to be taking too much water. Yeah. What is the necessity of walnuts? It's not. Agree. It's just a it's a great food. It's a power food, but it's like, dude, like we have enough of it. If you're going to just import it out of the country and no Californian's even going to really benefit from the growth of the walnuts anyways, because 80% of it's getting exported out.
Exported, yep.
Yeah, it's just like it's just all about money. We're gonna,
Big
yeah, like you
business.
said, it's just, yeah, and so are we in a real drought? No, people, we are not in a real drought. Crops are taking the majority of that water. Residential infrastructure is not taking that much water. It is very little,
Like
5%,
of it, yeah.
5% out of 100. 10% out of 100, where you're talking about these crops are taking 80-70%, 60%. The other 20% I think is like whatever, like nuclear, whatever the water they use for like power plants and stuff like that.
Right.
So it's like
Industrial
I'm,
shit.
yeah, industrial, exactly. So it just, I don't know. It's very disheartening to see. It's just sad that people know these answers, and like a lot of the stuff we always talk about, everybody has the right answer, but no one uses the right answer. They just want to argue about it. Like this, like for example, like the trans book readings and stuff, like the drag book reading and stuff. I don't ever recall in my schooling ever that we went to a reading where they said, hey, Johnny's met Mary and they want to go into the back of Johnny's room or whatever. And now I'm not saying the drag readings are like that, but how about this? The drag readings are like this. Hey, Johnny was looking in the mirror and realized he might like women. And then he pursued the girl in his class that he liked. So, and he thought, I'm not different for liking women. I just like da 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 da. So where do they come in with the trans situation? They would say, oh, does Johnny like to dress like a woman? It's okay. Da 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 da. Why are you reading that to kids?
Yeah.
Why are you talking about sexual behavior to kids that aren't even past puberty yet?
Well, and
I
I
don't.
seen
So
somebody.
this has nothing to do with a hate on transgenders, any
Nah,
hate
dude.
on lesbian, gay,
That's called
whatever,
grooming,
bi
bro.
community. Yes, it's called grooming. It's very simple to see. It has nothing to do with anything that is positive. It has nothing to do with positive. You want that person to go to a drag reading after 18 years old, just like you can sign up for the military here after 18, go do all the drag readings you want to people that are forced to kind of sit there and listen to it. Some parents have gotten really offended and been like, dude, I didn't even know they were going to do this. You know what I mean? And so
well,
it's not enough.
I seen some people were posting like, oh, you have a problem with drag now, but drag's been in our life forever, and it was showing like pictures of like Mrs. Doubtfire and then like white chicks and stuff like that. And it's like, dude, that's entertainment, and nothing about Mrs. Doubtfire was sexualized like to that extreme.
And
you know what I mean?
I specifically remember seeing Mrs. Doubtfire not one time. As a matter of fact, it went through my head. I said it's weird. Obviously, they make a reason for it in the movie that he wants his kids. He can't stand to be away from his kids so bad. So in the movie, you accept it. You say, oh wow, oh, he loves his kids. You go past that. Never once did I think, oh man, I wonder if Mrs. Doubtfire likes men or women, or like, but he's a man, but he's
exactly.
Well, like, I'm not kidding you. I got confused the other day reading the CNN thing. I wish I could show you how they worded it. It was the craziest wording. It said, Audrey Hale, she identifies, she's a woman, but transgender, and shot up the school. I didn't know if it was a girl that dressed like a boy that went in there or a boy that dressed like a woman. I didn't know what the difference was. And once again, people can do whatever they want as a
individual.
I've worked with transgender people. I've worked with gay people, lesbian people. They could all attest that I never once I treated them exactly how I treated anybody else. So I have nothing against anybody like that. My issue is the sexualization of children and how they could do that regardless of what it is. If I was a kid and I told my mom, especially being from a Middle Eastern culture, saying we went to class and they said, hey, you're not different for wanting a girlfriend. My mom would be like, why are they talking to you about
Dude,
that?
she would have came unglued.
Yeah, she would have said, well, they would have said, why are you guys even talking about boyfriend and girlfriends at 9 years old? You have, just be a kid, you know, you're just
Exactly.
playing, and you still have toys and stupid stuff you do. You're not thinking about sexual acts. And so when you tell a kid at 8 years old someone likes to dress as a woman or man, that automatically goes into the grooming aspect. And what you say is probably what they're going to claim is, oh, it's all over
You-
TV and da da da.
Yeah,
But
and you
that's
take their
grooming
childhood
also.
away. Yeah, you taking their childhood away, man.
You really are. You really are. And honestly, if a kid is going through that, that's a psychological aspect that psychologists know about. They have words for it and phrases for it. And someone, identity, what do they call it? Gender dysmorphia or whatever they call it, or whatever, identity dysmorphia, I don't know. But they literally are allowing the spread of that information. If a kid is going through that, that should be between him and his parents. They don't need every kid in the school to attend a book reading about what that kid is going through.
Dude, and that's what I said. You hit the nail on the head. That's what I said about if you look at, okay, this last school shooter was trans, so what? Every common denominator of all these shooters, even from the Las Vegas shooter, dude, they all have mental health issues.
Yes.
Period. Which to me means easy pickings. It's easy to blame somebody who has mental health issues.
Yes.
Like, oh, they suffer from depression, anxiety, gender phobia, or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean?
But what's crazy is, like, I said this a long time ago. I was like, someone was saying that they like came in, the guy was on the stand and he was talking about how he came in shooting people and doing this and that. It was like one of the first office shootings like years ago. And he was like, yeah, they were all like constructs. I was just shooting constructs. And he's like, they weren't people. They were like, they were Nazis. And he's like, and the guy was
Matrix
yeah,
agents.
the judge was like, basically they were speaking to him like, okay, well then what else did you do? Well, then I shot the other constructs. And they basically were going into his brain and seeing what he was seeing as why he did this.
Right.
And I thought about it. I said, it's totally irrelevant.
Yeah.
It's totally irrelevant. It's only our weird brains that want to know that stuff. In the reality, if they caught that Audrey Helger, they should have been like, hey, we don't even want to know your mother. You're going to jail for the rest of your life. We don't care. Oh, listen to me. That guy getting on the stand and saying I shot constructs and stuff, that's his perception of what he was doing. It's meaningless. Yeah. Because why? He used it in a violent act. So it's like, if you're not going to use it in violence and talk all the shit you want and say, hey, I think people are weird and other people are constructs and da-da-da-da. You want to shoot people, it does not matter what you perceived, unless it's obviously a justified case, such as robbery, someone tried to rob you and shot them or whatever. That's different.
Self-defense, right?
Self-defense, yeah. But who cares what this person was seeing it as? So if it's just going back, I was kind of just going back to your word about the mental health issues. If you have a mental health issue, then I don't care what you are, what your religion you are, what you claim you did it for. If you did it for Jesus or Allah or whatever you do, it doesn't matter. I don't care what your perception of it is. Your perception is completely false.
It's fucked.
It's fucked.
Yeah.
It's based off no reality. You know what I mean? So I think the whole the school shooting thing, I had mentioned before, I said not this, but I think I was just talking to you just regularly, was we always had a police officer at our school.
Yeah, school officer.
Walking around all the time. And not that would just be the answer, but that sure of a hell of a lot faster would have had some sort of enforcement and come through with some sort of contact with the shooter a lot faster.
Right.
They just come in and just go, oh, we're just now getting to the school and they're fucking listening for gunshots, what floor to go to and what to do and what not to. Although shout out to those police officers in Nashville, dude, they were not playing any games when they went in there, and you could see in the video that they were just running towards that shit. Like,
Especially after what happened in Vlad, they were not. They
Yeah.
were like, nope,
it's good to see cops doing something good for once.
doing good. Yeah, cops doing cop work, dude. It's fucked up.
Yeah.
It's fucked up as it sounds.
No,
Yeah,
it is.
it really
It is, but that's when I think of a cop, a good cop, I think of those guys that were on the thing. They had no idea. They didn't care if the students were white, black, Jewish, Muslim. They were going in and they were just going to take it.
putting their life on the line, dude, to make sure that those kids
moving
were safe.
fast too. They were like
Yeah.
going towards that shit fast. So, but they got praised good for that, and they deserve to be. But I think with the school shootings, I have still, I don't understand why we have more of them in our country. I don't think it's the availability of guns.
No,
Because
it's a mental health issue, 100%.
if you have a knife and you're psychotic inside of a room with 30 students, and all you have to do is go lock the door, there's people that could do serious damage with a knife.
Serious damage.
Yeah, you're just.
It's
every person you poke is a possible death.
I don't think it's just a mental health issue. It's also kind of a fad within people who are mentally ill. It's a lot easier for a mental ill person to convince himself that this is something I should do, especially when it's constantly blasted on TV, that it happens every other week, this and that. It's become normal.
Access does have some things to do with it.
Absolutely.
I always say a lot of these people and like the NRA and stuff, and like I like the NRA, but nobody ever talks about California and these issues.
Mhm.
And we've had situations that we've had school shootings. Shit, actually, one of the first school shootings was in California. I don't know if you remember, it was in Lyndhurst, or was it Lyndhurst? Eric.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it was in Lyndhurst High.
Uh-huh.
Lyndhurst High School in near Marysville and stuff like that. That was one of the first school shootings where he walked in literally and started shooting some. I can't remember his name, Eric something, but they literally have some of the strictest gun laws in California.
Mhm.
Now, when that guy did that Lyndhurst shooting, we didn't. That was, I
Right.
think, one of the reasons I think they went to the 1996 AR assault rifle ban or whatever.
They did, yeah.
But my point is guns are available everywhere,
Mhm.
even in countries that guns are totally illegal. You can
Yep.
get a gun in the black market very easily. If someone really wanted to go get guns, they could. I don't agree with no background checks. I don't agree with no mental health checks. I don't agree with, in California, I don't know if you've ever bought a gun in California, but if you go there smelling like weed, if you go in there.
Oh yeah, dude, they're strict as shit.
Yeah.
But
if
they
you go
also
in
have
there,
some of the most shootings, period. Not just mass shootings, but shootings in general.
yeah, but that's street stuff. And you know, people are doing so much crazy stuff with guns and all the, you know, it's just, there's no, I just, what are they going to do when they ban guns and someone just 3D prints a gun?
Right, exactly. my point.
What
It's
is, what are you going to do about school shootings then?
banning guns aren't gonna
Banning
solve the
guns is not
problem.
the answer. Mental health is the answer.
Get these fucking
and
people
also-
help, dude.
Yeah, and also parents, man, like parents need to, dude, if your daughter or son is going to the room every day and ignoring you, and you see that they're depressed, or you see that they're sad, or you see that they're going through something, and you just say, hey, how you doing? All right, good. Oh, da, 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 and you're just lazy into your own life. Of course that kid is not gonna, and I'm not saying this is the answer and it's easy, just, but parents need to be involved in their kids' life more.
Absolutely.
And from what I'm seeing from my generation that are now parents and stuff, raising 10-year-olds and 15-year-olds, and they've gone a different route. You know what I mean? They've really gone a different route.
Well, it doesn't
Phones are
help
in
when
their-
kids are having kids, dude.
Yeah. And phones are in their hands at an early age. They're seeing
Mhm.
violence at an early age ever before, you know what I mean? Like, so one thing though, especially, this is one good thing to kind of like sum up what I really believe about a lot of these talks that me and you have, and things we talk about is there is no answer to everything. Nobody's got an answer to everything. There is answers to a lot of the solutions and problems the problems that we talk about that have solutions. But my sensors that I'm talking about on hazardous materials, those sensors could malfunction and it could still happen.
They're not going to stop spills.
It's not going to stop it.
They might help getting quicker, but
yeah. So basically, I think the most we could do with all of this stuff we talk about is reduce. Reduce. Nothing is ever going to go to zero. It's never going to, you're never just going to say we solved the digital currency problem, or digital currency is perfect, or paper's perfect, or no more derailments are going to happen because we have the perfect invention. And I think that's something, I think that's a human issue, that we think there's always a 100% answer, because we say, we fly from here to New York. How could we not think of the perfect reasoning for this? And it's, yes, we don't have it. Or biggest thing I think is like engineering cost and cost to do things, and people don't want to pay that cost.
Yeah.
And a human life is not worth that cost under a lot of these big corporations or things. As they're engineering something, they say, hey, well, if we lose 50 people, it's not a big deal. Just like we saw with vaccines. Hey, if 10,000 people out of 100 million die from blood clots, then so be it.
Right.
And so there's no perfect answer. I think the best thing we could all do is just try to reduce certain things and reduce, reuse, recycle. No, I'm just joking. No. But you just, I think that's the biggest thing. And it's so funny watching different podcasts and stuff. You never hear someone say what I just said. They finish the podcast with, and that's crazy. And I can't believe it. All right, talk to you next week.
The
you know what I mean? Like
the suspense.
Yeah, like, how are we allowing this? Like gun control, like, dude, yes, there should be gun control. There should be gun control. And when you say gun control, people will automatically jump at you. They don't know that, no, I'm not talking about complete gun control. I'm talking about a certain type of control.
Yeah.
So, meaning, hey, if you walk in there and tell the guy, hey, is there a toucan sitting on top of your head? Don't sell that guy a gun. You know what I mean? You don't need to be a genius to know he's maybe not all there. You know what I mean? Like, unless you got the toucan sitting on top of your head. You know
No, and honestly, I do. I think that's a good spot to end that in our whole conversation, man. And like always, dude, I always appreciate your input on these things, dude, because it definitely allows me to see things from a different light and a different side. You know
Thank
what I mean?
you. Same to you as well. Same to you.
Yeah, and it's always a pleasure to link up with you. I always
You already got me backtracking my digital currency statement already.
You're good. You're good. I mean, you can backtrack it all you want. Like you told me, you could be against it all you want, but at the end of the day, it's gonna fucking happen. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, it don't matter. It don't matter. You just at that point. I mean, I guess it just goes into that whole thing. You see the guy, like, the 90-year-old guy on his porch rocking back and forth. Like, oh my God, I can't believe this shit is happening. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, old Bill, he hates flying cars.
That's exactly it too. But yeah, man, again, I enjoy it, dude. I always appreciate it.
Thank you.
Please come back. I know there's going to be tons more to talk about. So,
thank you.
Yep. And keep the good work, keep the solutions coming. And as always, thank you everybody for tuning in, man. You guys have a good night.